Welcome to Mindful School Marketing, your go-to podcast for personal and professional growth.
We're school marketers, business owners, and moms passionate about connecting other school professionals with tools and strategies for success.
We love solving problems, exploring new ideas, and thinking outside the box. Let's transform your school and life starting right now. Transform your school's admissions and marketing with Inquiry Tracker, the ultimate solution for managing inquiries seamlessly. Discover how you can make your admissions process more efficient and effective with this leading solution.
Welcome to Mindful School Marketing. I'm Tara Clays.
And I'm Aubrey Bursch. Today, we're joined by Steve Bristol, a school veteran who has worked in and for independent schools for 35 plus years. Steve went from being the traditional boarding school triple threat teacher, coach, dorm head to administrative leadership, where he was a director of athletics, an assistant head for external affairs, a director of enrollment management, and an associate head of school. Steve's experience in schools has touched all aspects of independent school management and organization, and he now serves a broad range of schools as a senior consultant for Triangle Associates. Welcome, Steve. We're so excited you're here today with us.
Hey, thanks. I'm excited too. I'm a big fan of your work, and so it's really great to have a chance to chat with you both.
Thanks. We're excited about the conversation. Before we kick it off, let's hear a little bit more about you.
Yeah, as Aubrey said in the introduction, I've been in and around independent schools for my whole life. As I say to people, I'm a product of the system. I came up through the ranks as a student into teaching, coaching, running a dorm back in the days when you had dorms by yourself. There was no duty teams or things like that. And then spent a lot of time in the athletic world, and then moved, and the majority of my work has been around enrollment management, strategic planning, a lot of work with faculty and administration on how do we keep our schools healthy and successful. It's a challenging time for us today, and I think being real intentional and conversations like this are going to be really helpful for us.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited. I know Tara and we're really excited to talk about this particular topic, because when we speak to schools, it is one that is near and dear to their thoughts and planning and everything like that. So we're here today to talk about faculty sustainability for independent schools and how this ties into school marketing. So let's start by talking about this concept. Like, how does having a sustainable faculty team make a difference in the way families view a school?
Yeah, it's a great question, and happily, it's not a real complicated formula. Having been in admissions for a long time, I think anyone that's worked in schools and admissions or marketing or communications will tell you that sort of word of mouth is, that's our bread and butter. Is the more people are saying nice things about us, the better we tend to do in the community. There's a real linear path, I think, between faculty sustainability and happiness and school sustainability. And when you think about what keeps schools going on a really fundamental level, you need families to enroll and pay tuition, and you need people to make donations. That's the brass tacks behind it all. Is you need a financial security, and families enroll if they're happy, and people donate if they're happy with the school. And what makes a family happy? Happy kids. I used to give a talk to admissions audiences all the time about this idea of when kids get picked up, they're in the pickup line, and they come out with the backpack waving, and they jump in the car, and the first thing every parent says is, "How was your day?" And what kids don't know is, as a parent, what a loaded question. All of my self-worth as a parent is tied up in the answer in that question, because I've just sent my child off for 8 hours to be with other adults, and I'm just hoping that they're doing a good job by him or her. And typically the answer we get is fine, okay. And you're sort of like, all right, it's kind of a letdown. It's not really the message I was hoping to get. But on those couple of moments where they come in and they're like, "It was great, da, 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 da. I scored a goal and got an A on the quiz," as a parent, your whole day changes. It just makes your day. And so thinking about how do we get that more from our kids, and the piece that we have control over in there, and that is I think the driving force is the adults that are with them during the day. And if those adults aren't happy and feeling purposeful in their work, kids are going to feel that. A theme in our conversation, I'm sure, is going to be sort of, this is all kind of contagious. Happy adults are going to create happy kids, and unhappy adults will create unhappy kids. And then that translates into parents, it'll translate into alums, and all of that is what fuels your school's sustainability. It'll be the foundation for your marketing work. Is happy people talking about their experiences in school. And I think it really starts with, where are the adults that are on the front lines, and how are they feeling, and how engaged with purpose and mission they feel about their work. Again, not real complicated. But it requires some sort of intentional care and thoughtfulness.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the idea of sustainable faculty and staff is something I know with schools that I've built websites for, they'll communicate, right? One of the reasons why you should choose our school is because we have faculty who've been here for 20 years, or those types of things. Can you talk a little bit? I'm curious about what kind of challenges that you've seen schools face in maintaining that sustainable and engaged faculty, and obviously then in that case, how that can impact their marketing appeal.
Yeah, and I think that's a really critically important. And in thinking about this, what I did is I created two lists. One of them was kind of my job description as a first-year teacher, and the things that I had to do and the things that I had to worry about. And then I compared it to what I think teachers have to do and worry about today. All I had to do is I had to make sure I had 50 minutes of content, because teaching then meant I just stood up in front of the room and delivered content. And so I had to have that prepared. I had to grade some papers, had to get my grades in on time and write my comments. I coached a couple of seasons, and I, lived in a dorm at the time. And so I ran a dorm. There was no duty teams in those days. So this is just what you did. And everybody did that. We all had the same job. And so there was sort of some collective appreciation in that. I think about the work teachers have to do today. It's all of those things, except they don't have to have 50 minutes of content. They have to have 50 minutes of creative activities. They have to be thoughtful about, how are my kids doing in terms of their health and their wellness? And, I've got to be sensitive to, I've got a real diversity of kids in the room in every way, including the way they learn. So, they have to think about sort of differentiated delivery of content. They have to be experiential. They've got parents calling and stopping them in the grocery store. They've got to maintain class websites and post grades online, which is another trigger for a lot of activity. They have to, manage active shooter drills. I mean, the things that our teachers have to do now is dramatically different from what it was when I started. And I hadn't even hit COVID yet. All of that was happening before COVID. And then COVID was like an accelerant. We poured gasoline into a situation where, the adults in our community were feeling a ton of pressure. All of those new things they had to be aware of, the bulk were introduced in an opening of faculty meeting in August. So you spent an hour or two in a seminar on health and wellness, and your administrative team said, okay, go implement this next week in class. And we just didn't do a great job preparing them for this change. I think technology was the kicker in the beginning. And then we rolled into sort of 21st century learning, teaching and learning, and the skills-based things. And, for our teachers, it wasn't that they were unwilling. It just was a lot in a really short period of time that really turned their work upside down. And like I said, again, we delivered this in a faculty meeting on a Thursday, and classes started on Monday, and off you go, and good luck to you. So I don't blame them for feeling stressed out. And, you can read articles in the paper, there's a ton of them right now about, frustrated teachers and quitting teachers and all of those things. And so from a marketing standpoint, to bring it back to kind of how does that impact your sustainability as a school, you have these critical pieces to your educational puzzle. And the whole world is looking at them going, I don't think they really like their job anymore. And, I don't want to put my child in a room with an adult that's unhappy or is, feeling overworked and stressed. And again, all of this is contagious. So teacher stress becomes student stress. And, there's just a lot we're asking of them. And I don't think they're unwilling to do the work. That to me is not the issue. These are people that have dedicated their lives to going above and beyond, but we need to care for them a little bit more and support that work a little bit more.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember, growing up, I think, it was a different time when you went to school and like the parents weren't
Yeah,
like asking for, calling, or I mean, certainly there was an email, at least when I was growing
right,
up. Like it's
right.
a whole different world. And I was thinking about the other responsibilities we're not asked. I mean, I go in and often train faculty and staff on like marketing and development efforts. And, now we're asking them to do all those things on top of
Yeah,
just teaching, and teaching alone has, as you mentioned, changed so much the expectations around that. So it truly is a lot of challenges that our teachers are facing. And in
yeah. I
terms of,
think. Sorry.
no, go
Oh, I
ahead.
think a big part of it is, like I said, they want to do the work and they want to do it well. I think they're feeling a lack of confidence, that so much was so new that they didn't really have a chance to get good at it and to feel confident in it. And that confidence sort of, it just rocked them a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I think of my children's teachers, and they're just amazing. They go above and above and
Yeah.
beyond. And
Oh,
I know that our schools do want to hang on to those teachers who truly are passionate about what they do and they want to do a great job. So, as we're thinking about, what sort of effective strategies have you seen schools implement to keep these amazing faculty like motivated and committed? And when they do this, how has that positively impacted the school's image and recruitment efforts?
yeah. I mean, this is the $64,000 question is, how do we kind of get out from under this? And, what I'll start with right off the bat is you can't pay them enough. The school model doesn't allow for this to be an, a job with huge fine. We're not getting rich at this. But I remind myself, none of us expected to. We didn't come into this thinking we were going to get really wealthy. We came into it saying, I'm going to get paid enough to live a comfortable life. But it's all the other things that come with being a teacher that fuel us. It's that intrinsic value. It's working with kids. It's being part of um, kind of an organization with a mission and a purpose and all of that. You can't find that in insurance. You can't find it in banking. There's a reason people are drawn to schools as kind of a lifestyle. And so I think what schools need to do is nurture that added value and to be thinking about what it is, what are these extra things above and beyond salary that fuel people in their community. And I think it starts with this sense of purpose and mission. So it's how well as a school are you reconnecting and or maintaining that connection between your faculty and your larger purpose and your mission so that they feel that they're part of something really powerful and engaging that way. Are we celebrating the best of our faculty well enough? We get sort of a silver bowl after 5 years and, a knife set after 10 years and things like that. But just along the way, informally, are we acknowledging those people that are really living the mission? The ones that are going above and beyond. I talk a lot when I work with schools about, who are your barometer faculty? And by that, I mean, those people that will volunteer for everything. They'll go above and beyond. They'll do whatever you ask. But when they start grumbling at the lunch table, we have to listen because that's the person that, we're leaning on because we expect all of them to give a little bit extra. That's just part of the model. And when you're best at that, start to kind of show wear and tear, I think we've got to pay attention to that. We've got to keep our finger on the pulse of that kind of overall mood. And I think for schools, they're challenged by that because they don't know what the solution is. So what they hear is complaining, and it's complaining without resolution. And, it's the old bring me answers, not more problems. And, it's our job as school leaders to come up with the answers and to recognize the problems. And I think like I said, it starts with reconnecting with mission. I think it's important to treat them like professionals. The outer world, that sets the context for our work as being low paying and all of that kind of stuff. I think we have to respect each other as professionals and treat each other that way. Friend of mine jokes all the time, who works with schools a lot, that really all they want is for the head of school to know their dog's name. They're what they want isn't, it's respect, it's consideration, it's a personal relationship based on trust. And again, you do these things and you fuel that added value that they get from working in schools, and they feel fulfilled. Then they're walking into class every day thinking, I'm doing important work here, and these kids are the future of the world, and I want to invest my heart and soul in them. The kids feel that level of investment. They get in the car in the pickup line, and mom, dad says, how was your day? They're like, it was really great. Mrs. Jones did this today, and she was fantastic. And that's how it starts to build, and that becomes the essence of your community. Your happy faculty start connecting with visitors when they walk the halls. And as an admissions director, I'd love it when a family came back from a tour and would say, oh yeah, this math teacher saw us and came right out in the hall from their class, left the class, talked to us about what she was doing in class, invited us to come watch for a few minutes. I mean, as an admissions director, you can't get a better story, because there's a transparency to the work being done. And that's what parents want to know is, what's going to happen to my child for those 8 hours when I'm not parenting them. And if you give them that transparency and they know those people, and those people are good people who care about their kids, that becomes your marketing. And that authenticity is what you build all of your view books and websites, and all the collateral materials get built on that feeling.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think there is so much that schools can do, and to try to make their faculty feel valued. And once that's done, I guess the next marketing question is do you have any tips on engaging the faculty? Like the example that you said, which is very organic, where the teacher actually came out in the hallway. Any other tips on engaging faculty in the marketing process?
Yeah, I think that, and what's best, and you guys know from a marketing standpoint, that which is organic and authentic is gold. And so, without telling a teacher to come out in the hall and say hi to a family and having it just happen is great. But structured events where you're inviting your faculty to present to visiting families, or to attend a advancement reception in the city with alums, and for them not to look at that as an added duty, but as, oh yeah, I'd love to come talk about school, because they feel that engagement with it and they feel that connection to it. I think this is where this shows up a lot, is in the hiring area. A really tricky place for schools. They're doing more of it now than they used to with the turnover. It's become year round. So it's not we issued contracts in February, and, they'll come back in March and we're good. They're going to find out in August that they suddenly have 2 openings. And I think your approach to hiring needs to be less about hiring a teacher and more about building a faculty. And how, I rely on my coaching experience in the past is, I need to build a team, which just means parts with different strengths, and putting them together in the right combinations. And, looking at all of the jobs to be done on your campus, from classroom teaching to coaching to clubs to art and music and robotics, and if it's a boarding school, to dorms or after school care, whatever, and getting a broad sense of what it is we're asking these people to do. Then start plugging in names and seeing where you're doing those, where you have them well covered and where you might be a little thin, and then having that driving your hiring. So you're trying to fill out this larger picture of a faculty that will be representative and of your school and your mission, rather than, oh my gosh, it's August and I just need a math teacher, and the way you approach that team building and organizational strategy there, I think is critical. Another piece that I've been throwing out, we're independent schools are in an arms race. We're building buildings all over the place. And as our campuses grow and they become fancier and more exotic, that the piece that's gotten smaller is the faculty room. They're down to, a closet with a Keurig machine and that's about it, and a copier. I would encourage schools to think about the professional space they would dedicate to their faculty. Make it look like an airport club lounge where you have collaborative space where teachers from different departments can sit and talk and work together. Maybe you have some cubbies where they can call and email parents and handle that part of their job. More and more school space is being taken up by the growth in programs we're offering. And so our faculty are getting, they're sharing classrooms now. They don't have their own office. So they're trying to do all of the things we're asking them to do in kind of makeshift space. Let's invest in that. Create professional workspace for them where they can be away from the kids for a little while. That's not a weakness to want to be around adults and to have a professional conversation. And the flip side of that is they're going to see you've just invested in them. They've seen us invest in the kids endlessly and appropriately so, but they're waiting for us to step up and say, you guys are really important to this equation too. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you this really beautiful workspace, faculty room, fresh fruit. Our dining services are exotic now. So you can get high-end coffee, fresh fruit, pastries delivered every day. For a teacher, that's going to be a nice sign of respect.
Absolutely. I mean, our teachers do need to feel valued. And I know, having worked with several schools as they're building new buildings, and it's easier for parents to get behind something for teachers too, not just students. I mean,
Yeah.
donors do love supporting the teachers for sure. I'm curious, when you were talking about hiring, which I loved how you said you're hiring, you're looking at the bigger picture, right? You're not just hiring that math teacher in August. You're saying, okay, where does everyone fit in? And I always think it's good to look at, just because we did something before doesn't mean we need to just, plug that hole again. Maybe we need to reallocate some things. But I'm curious because teachers' roles are changing, and with admissions being such a key element to our schools, teachers can make or break the admissions process. Parents want to meet teachers, they want to visit classrooms. In addition, I'm in schools a lot, filming teachers for marketing efforts. There's a lot more that we're asking of teachers, and I'm wondering how you see that those expectations both kind of set forth, either in contracts or in discussions, and how we support teachers to be able to execute these duties properly, so that they're not, it's not just one more thing on their plate and something like that, so that they actually have the time and energy to put forth these efforts, because they are integral to marketing and admissions for sure.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. And I think we in schools, we rely so heavily on the goodwill and that extra little something that teachers are willing to give, that they feel a commitment to the larger organization and will sacrifice for it, and they'll lean into that. And I think where we've gone wrong a little bit is we sort of took that for granted a little bit. And so we weren't acknowledging it as much as we could. They don't, like I said, they don't mind the extra work. They want to be part of something big. They want to contribute to it, and they want to help the school be successful. So I think a lot of those requests, some of it's just in the delivery. It's acknowledging, I know I'm asking you to do something extra. Maybe you're throwing them and their spouse a gift card to dinner. They just want acknowledgement that you're asking for a little more, and then for us to listen when they say, I don't have more to give. I'm kind of tapped out right now, and then we say, all right, totally good. I'll respect that. I'm not going to judge you on that. You've been great, X, Y, and Z. But I think those extra asks that we're making right now, the response we're getting is sure for a stipend or for some relief time, or there's now an exchange of a commercial exchange of work and services, which is not school culture. And so going back to building those relationships so that when you go to a teacher and you say, hey, I need your help with this thing, and acknowledging that you're asking for a favor, and then being thankful and appreciative when they give it to you, and maybe circling back to them if it's a video or something like that, saying, hey, I just want to make sure you saw this. You did a great job. And, but I think so often that the teacher that volunteers for that thing never gets to see the finished product. It never comes back around with appreciation and thanks and celebration. And again, none of that costs anything. It's just relationships and maintaining those in a powerful kind of substantive, honest way.
Yeah. This is all such good reminders. I think, there are
Yeah.
great ideas that are not difficult to implement. And it's really good to bring it top of mind. And
Yeah.
so I'm really grateful to have that refresher for everyone listening. And along those lines, our podcast is also about mindfulness. And so some of the
Yeah.
things that you're talking about in terms of like a reminder of keeping something top of mind, how do you define mindfulness and how does it apply to this conversation?
I think, it underlies kind of all of this in so many ways. And I think it's so important in addressing the current state of where we are in is schools right now. I think mindfulness for me has always been sort of an authentic awareness or authentic self-awareness. If I were to sort of offer a quick definition, it's sort of being clear with yourself about who you are, what you stand for, but also thinking about, is that also what other people see? Is who I am and who I think I am, is that what I'm portraying to other people, and not just assuming they're getting my inner me? I may not be communicating it as well as I think I am. And so often there's a disconnect there. So I think just being open to the idea that that disconnect may exist, that they may not see the true me that I'm so inner proud of, kind of thing, or that I aspire to be. And schools are the same way. I think schools have to be mindful as well of who they are and what they're communicating to their students, to their families, to the outside world. That's the mindful marketing that I think you guys speak to so well, is, being authentic about yourself, being aware of the things you do really well and the areas where you need to improve, and no school's perfect. And if you're open and transparent about the things you're working on to be better, and that becomes part of how you communicate your essence as a school, is that we're human and we're imperfect, but here are our core values, and here are the things we strive for, and here are the things that we take as being fundamental to us and our institution. Then both the individuals and the institution are leading with that into the marketplace. And that authenticity and that honesty about self, I think, is incredibly powerful as a recruiting tool. It's the work we leaned into in my last school. It was a big part of it. We had some we were in an incredibly competitive marketplace, and we had some high-powered competition, and we leaned into that authenticity of being honest about who we were, and we were a great school. We're different from the other great schools in the neighborhood, and here's how. But it was all about that authenticity and that self-awareness.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing. I'm a big fan of authenticity. So yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm
Yeah.
excited to say that this is one of the favorite parts of my show. Hopefully it'll be yours as well.
Okay.
We're transitioning to our rapid fire questions. So
Okay.
I'm going to kick us off. If you could put one book as mandatory reading in the high school curriculum, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. The book and the class I want to teach, if I were to go back into the classroom, the one I want the most is, I think there's 2 volumes, maybe more, of This I Believe. And it was based on the 1950s radio show from Edward R. Murrow, where famous people would get up and talk like 2 to 3 minutes, very briefly, about their core beliefs. And then that got translated into written essays, published, and a bunch of schools years ago were using this as part of their curriculum and building courses around it. I would love to go back to that. The essays are fantastic. They are and the idea of, especially in today's world, that more people that are connected to their core values and what they stand for, I think can only help us in the broader culture right now. And then teaching kids how to write essays that build out, that kind of explore their beliefs and how to define them. I would love to teach that class. The one I loved the most was I taught A River Runs Through It in 11th grade American literature class, Norman Maclean. Great book to teach. Kids engaged with it, could get their hands around it. There's lots of meat in there. It was a lot of fun. So I cheated and gave you 2.
Okay, thanks. What's one app that you could not live without?
I'm one of those people that I love organizing. I don't love living with my organization so much. So I'm changing organizational apps about every 6 months, note taking and things like that. My latest go-to is Notion, where I do a lot of my note taking. I save a lot of my documents in there. It's become my personal library. And I found it easy to use, and I've actually stuck with it for a year now, which is really good for me.
Yeah, I've looked at that. It's a little overwhelming. It can do amazing things. Yeah, good for
I
you.
dialed
That's
it way
awesome.
down. I do kind of the idiot's version of it, but it works really well even with that.
That's awesome. Well, Tara happens to be a fellow organization lover and
Oh,
productivity person. So you all are right up there. I'm curious, what are you reading right now?
I live in Maine, and so I am reading right now something called, I have it right next to me, Not Without Peril, which is 150 years of misadventure in the presidential range. And it's about essays on people that hiked in the White Mountains in the presidential range. And sadly, they all kind of end in tragedy. But it's really interesting, and it's a great history of the area. And I'm going to do that hike this spring and summer. And so I'm doing a lot of reading about it and just love the area. So
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, and our last question is, what's one great piece of advice you can leave us with?
I mean, I think if I were to sort of tie all of this together, I've said on a lot of occasions, I think independent schools are the greatest educational vehicle in the world. You know, our biggest flaw is that we're private and we can't make it available to everybody. But the small classes, the commitment of the adults, the personal attention, all of those things, you know, any family would want that for their kids. The people that work in them are amazing people. And like I said, they don't do it for the money. They need the money and they wouldn't turn it down, but that isn't their purpose. And their purpose is to raise the next generation. And I think for schools and those who work in them to just remember that as much as they can, that we do great work. And these are some great people. And, you know, there are a lot of other industries that don't allow you to feel this good about the work you do. And so take the time, be thoughtful about, you know, how much this is important work, and feel proud of that.
Great inspiration to leave us with. Thank you so much. We're so happy that you joined us today. Thanks for sharing some great reminders and some great creative ideas. Where can people find you online, Steve?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn's probably the easiest place. I'm working for Triangle Associates as a consultant, and we work with a lot of schools. We have a URL that's tricky. And so LinkedIn's probably the fastest and easiest way to get a hold of me. And I would love these are topics that I'm passionate about, I'm interested in, I'm genuinely curious to learn more. So would love conversations that keep this moving forward.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for joining us today.
This episode is brought to you by Enquiry Tracker. We believe that every inquiry is an opportunity, and with Enquiry Tracker, you can unlock the full potential of your school's enrollment journey.
Say goodbye to missed opportunities and hello to a streamlined admissions process that prioritizes efficiency and effectiveness. Discover the leading solution for school admissions and marketing. Visit inquirytracker.net to book a personalized demo today. That's inquiry with an E, tracker.net.
Thanks for joining us on the Mindful School Marketing Podcast.
We'd love it if you pop into iTunes and leave a review, 5-star preferred. Let us know how you like the show. It helps us improve what we're doing and helps others find us too.